I kind of want to start with that studio thing that you just did then.
Okay.
I think that sounds cool. So tell me, I saw the pictures, which look sick.
Yeah.
We'll go on a brief tangent about how excited I am that I got to shoot you and Drew doing your thing in your studio.
Yeah.
Because that was a bucket lister for me.
Yeah.
But tell me a little bit about that studio session you just did.
So spent 5 days at this studio called Pachyderm Studio outside of Minneapolis.
Okay.
And some legendary albums from the 90s were recorded there, like Nirvana's In Utero, Lives Throwing Copper, and then just tons of other stuff like modern stuff like Trampled by Turtles or The Last Revel. They're like part Bozeman, part Minneapolis, but great albums. Yeah. Killer studio designed by, one of the best studio designers that's ever been, and like vintage gear out the wazoo. And like, so for me, it was like just that and was amazing. But then getting to record, help somebody bring their album to life was really cool. I had recorded on this guy's album up in Bozeman like 8 years ago. His name's Sean Ray. Okay. Really good songwriter, super, super amazing guy. So hadn't heard from him forever. And he just hit me up after I released my last EP and was like, dude, like your music sounds great. How you been? I want to record. Just like had a life thing, like just sold his house, got a divorce, wants to record some of his music. Like he's ready to go. A lot of
good music making stuff right there.
I booked this really amazing studio. Will you come play bass? And I was like, yes, of course. So, flew me out there and he brought his crew of friends. Like he just sort of assembled these people to kind of be around him to make this album. And we stayed in this mansion that was built in the 60s that was like Andrew Lloyd Webber's, or not, no, what's his name? Who's the dude that made like the crazy house architect? Is it Andrew Lloyd Webber?
I have no idea. You got me on this one. Yeah.
We'll just say that. Okay. I'm going to regret saying that. But stayed in this amazing mansion that was like the carpet and decor hadn't changed since the 60s. So it's like super vibey. And
did it have a conversation pit in it?
It was like a conversation pit. I should have showed you some pictures of it. So you could see, but it was like that. Yeah. There's like this lounge, so many lounge rooms and like places to hang out. And like, I just, seeing the artistic design is like beautiful and deep too. So there was like that just to begin with, and, assemble a good crew of people. And we just played music every night together, shared songs, and then would go into the studio and record into the most legendary gear, like all the gear that you will, for a gear nerd, you want to play through and just even look at, just be there. There's a stream rolling through the property and it was just like very idyllic. So
that's so cool, dude.
Yeah. Great music was made.
Yeah. It sounds
but
like it.
Memories. And it was like almost a spiritual experience to be there. Wow. So like a real treat. Like I was working, but it was like a vacation and like a spiritual retreat, and like checked off all the boxes.
That's so cool
for me. So
what was it like walking into a place where you can where the history of it, you can see artistically just like this is like the place. What's the feeling like walking into a place like that?
You kind of like pinch yourself to see if you're like creating something that's not there, but I really do feel like you can feel, sounds a little woo woo, but like I'm a musician, so I believe in vibrations, like the power of that thing. And you can feel that when you meet somebody. So I feel like there's like either like some sort of resonant frequency or a residual frequency that's left there from all these people being creative and open and artistic and in tune, on a property that's already set up to like deliver that. Yeah. Like it's on ancient sandstone and it's near a creek, it's like an ancient land as well. So it's like all these kind of layers stacked up to let this sort of vibe inhabit itself.
Right.
And so it's, you kind of feel that, like you feel the energy, like it just feels good. It's kind of wild.
Does that come with any, Does it come with any pressure where feeling and knowing what has been created there, does it feel like there's like a thing to live up to?
Yeah, I think so. You know, you always hope that you're going to make the next thing that changes lives or the world or whatever. Yeah. And so you're just hoping that you can honor that space and use your talents. And what's cool, kind of what we were talking about before we started, is like, it's a testing ground for somebody like me. Like, I get to go test that, like say, okay, if I know I'm this good, when I play with a professional drummer, studio drummer from Minneapolis, will I, you know, live up to the expectations that I have of myself in my head? And, you know, so there's that pressure too. And I'm being hired. So like, this dude flew me out, is paying me to play, expects me to deliver something. And my whole objective is to go above and beyond. So there's like, and for him, it costs a lot of money to be there. Like, he's dumping, like, it's a lot of money. So, you know, there's all these pressures that everyone's feeling to deliver and to make this thing the best that it can be. And it's been proven that it can be done there, you know, too.
True. Yeah.
So yeah, there's a lot of pressure going into that first day for sure.
Where does fun weave its way into that?
I think it has to be, for me, I like to make the studio process as fun as possible. Okay. So like, you know, try to go out of the gates to like disarm everything, you know, like be not like come in with a vibe, not come in with insecurities, come in right away. Like, you know, there's a thing Drew and I would always say to each other, like, this is the most fun you can have with your clothes on, you know? And so like just doing that stuff, like, you know, you do a take and you say something like that just to be like, dude, I'm here. We're playing music, dude. We're on the playground of playgrounds. This. Like we're at, you know, I don't know what the most legendary playground in the for kids is, but we're there, you know? So it's like trying to treat it like that. Like, yes, we're surrounded by millions of dollars of gear. Yes, you spend a lot of money and we're all leaving our families and things to do this, but we also have to remember that we're 100% here to have fun and be creative. And that's what we have to honor right now.
That's, it's an interesting idea to me because, growing up playing sports, there were guys that would have different, like flow zones, if you will. Mm-hmm. And in the locker room before a game, you'd have some guys that were like hooping and hollering and dancing, some guys who were like super locked in with their headphones on, staring at the floor, other guys who were pissed and slamming shit around.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
There was every version of how people got locked in so that they could perform. And I'm curious, when you have a group of people who are individually as creative as that group is, how do you manage or how do you get everybody to kind of like honor their flow state and like however they have to get there, but then all come together and like perform in that way where it has to be fun, it has to be creative, and it has to like have that feel to it?
Ooh, that's a good question, because there are a lot of variables in a situation like that. Like some of the guys aren't studio working musicians.
Okay.
But I think that's the job of somebody. I get to work in the studio. I mean, every day I'm working in the studio, so it's very second nature to me. And like the drummer, and then you have your producer, and then the other guys, you know, you kind of just be strong for them, and then, you know, the same thing, like disarm and help them get into their flow state, or assure them that they have the safety net behind them.
Okay.
And so that they can get to that free state. Because the more that you start getting burgled up, you know, in the studio when you're doing a take or whatever, the more you start just like
contracting a little bit.
Yeah. Like the same way as like when you're free and you're throwing, you know, dimes to everybody, you're going to start throwing more dimes, taking more risks, like improving. But if you keep getting sacked and your, you know, receivers are dropping the ball, you just
sure
start shutting down and move further away from that goal. So
gotcha.
It's every session's different, you know, depending on who's in the room.
So I would imagine that once you get all those people in the room, that somewhere along the way, that dynamic starts to shake out, where it's like, who's the person that's going to be like the glue that keeps us all together?
Mm-hmm.
Who's the guy who's going to keep it fun? Who's going to do all of that? One of the things that I really liked about the Owner's Journal episode we did a year or two ago now was you talked about like the importance of the hang when it comes to like touring and music groups and stuff like that. What was like that hang dynamic like when you're in this like musical mecca that you get to hang out at for a couple of days?
Well, it's like multifaceted because so he brought all these people from his life. It was a beautiful situation. So his dad has onset like declining Alzheimer's.
Okay.
So he brought his dad, and these guys are all a little bit older than me or right around my age. And so he brought his dad out for the first couple days. And then an old friend from Mobile, Georgia, and then another friend from Grand Junction, and another friend from so he brought like all his like team of like his buddy is a photographer, like really long time friend, and then another guy he used to play music with when he was cutting his teeth, then another friend. So there was like sort of his safety net, but he knew all these people forever, and he's only known me for a few days that we recorded his album 8 years ago. So I have to come in and like be a hang, you know? And so luckily when you bring in like-minded people, it's just amazing what happens is you go, well, I brought you in because I think you're like me.
Right.
And I have all the rest of my people here because they are like me. And so there's pressure for me to be like, wow, I'm going to go stay in a house with essentially a bunch of strangers. And
who are lifelong friends.
Yeah. Who are all, so it was like, really cool for me to, and I don't know, I'm fortunate that I am just like easily can do that sort of thing. Like I don't have any like super weird quirks that make me like, you know,
hard to get along with.
Yeah. So I'm realizing that that's sort of like a superpower in a lot of ways where I can do something like that. And then like, I want somebody to like hire me and not have to worry about me at all. And so that's like part of that hang thing. So I'm coming in and I'm like, I'm going to like chameleon. Luckily it's always easy.
Right.
I'm fortunate. They're fortunate, you know, that it's always like pretty good. So, that's sort of the thing. Like I go in being like, okay, you need to like be chill and don't nerd out on the gear and, you know,
play the role you're supposed to play.
Yeah. And try to make this the best experience for yourself and everybody else.
Right.
I don't know. So
what were some of the highlights of that like best experience as you're over there doing that thing? Because for the people that don't know, I mean, you have your own studio, you get to work, like you work on a lot of really cool projects here. So being able to unplug and like go do this thing where it sounds like the entire thing is just fostered around creativity and like being around other people that are like you. So what are like the highlight moments walking away from that now that you think in a couple of years you'll reflect on?
Man, I'm still processing it, and I'll find myself like on the verge of tears thinking of some of these memories and moments that we made. But like, so we go and like we would all share a meal. We'd eat breakfast together and then walk over to the studio at 11 in the morning and then start working, which is very reasonable. You know, like you can like, it's kind of cool to like have the morning and then go over and then just know you're going to, you know, work for a few hours, take a lunch break and then work until dinner. The gear nerd thing for me that I'll take away, like already like have goosebumps over is like the gear, and I won't get like too far into it, but it's like I show up and I'm going to play bass. And so I get to choose from all these different basses and all these different amplifiers, and they're all like legendary, like the coolest shit that you can play out of. Right. And so I'm playing out of like an early 1960s Fender bass, which is one of my favorites. And then like a 60s amp, you know? And so and then the microphone, it's just like everything. And then I'm running into like gear that you look at, but you can never afford. You know, there's like, the dollar sign is probably the only way to explain it, but it's like you're playing a bass that's, you know, multiple, like $10,000 to $20,000 an amp. and a microphone that's like $10,000, and then it's run through like $60,000 of what's called preamps, and then a board. It's just like, it's stuff that you can't ever have of your own. Right. So like having my own studio, that's like the smallest version of that studio, and being able to go there and then like play in a room that was designed for music. Like the room itself is an instrument. And so when you're playing drums, it responds to, low volumes, but then it's also designed for like a Nirvana, like in utero, like Dave Grohl smashing and collecting the sound and maintaining its integrity at loud volumes too. Okay. And then there's like a vocal type room that's made out of granite. You know? And so like off to the side. And so everything is like very thoughtful, and just getting to be a part of that art is a huge takeaway too. And then fostering like we would share songs every night, and some of that was the best memories. Like we all had similar musical tastes, so we'd play like a Guy Clark song and then a John Prine song, and just our original music, and everybody was just like loving what each other was doing. And it's like, yeah, it was such a deep experience. That's so like cool. All the way around. So it was like kind of like, it's like, oh, I kind of feel like I should give him my money back, because I got, he's getting an album, but I got like a life-changing experience because he let me into his world. And I was just there to play bass, but I got all this other stuff. And then I ended up playing a bunch of guitar, and like, just being able to sit next to the engineer and the partner of the studio and ask him about how he runs signals and EQs and how this board works. And like, I mean, it was just like it was like an internship. Yeah. Just like, it sounds like all of the, like everything from the hang to the house to the studios, like everything sounds like it was geared towards like the full version of creative expression. Like, I mean, I'm sure that the sense and like, it's a lot of that is probably cool when you first feel it. But I would imagine that the thing behind the thing is that you've got this passion for creating, and there's no bounds, but you're not bound by gear. You're not bound by budget. You're not bound by the room. You're not bound by not having the musicians. Like everything is right there. Yeah. That's gotta be a cool feeling. Yeah. It's amazing. And that's what the guy said, Nick. He's like, this place is magic. Like I can't explain, and people think it's haunted or whatever. And he's like, no, I try to explain. Like he just did an interview like on our last day with this Minneapolis magazine, and they're trying to get him to say it's haunted. And he's like, no, that's bullshit. Like there's magic here. Like there's something about this place where creativity happens, but it's not like haunted. It's special from the land to the, like you said, the gear. There's nothing holding you back. Right. Like, and it's kind of one of those things, like if you're not making something awesome here, then you're missing, you're like, might be a you problem. Yeah, exactly. So got you. I hope that doesn't happen to anybody there, because for sure that's missing out. But. Yeah. So how does having this like this experience where you get to go off and do this thing? I've had these experiences like when I went to the UFC in Boston and watched Sean O'Malley fight. It was one of the coolest things ever. Like just being in the building was awesome. Yeah. The whole thing. But what it did for me was like, I had this experience where I realized that the guys who were behind the cameras and the celebrities who were sitting in the front row and all of these different things, it made it all feel super attainable. I was like, oh yeah, that's just a guy. Like, a couple musicians were there that I was like, that I love listening to. It's like, oh yeah, that's just a dude who like had this thing, spent time in the studio, did the social media thing, put music out. Like he just trusted it and did the thing. And now he's like signing autographs there. It's just just the thing that he chose to spend his time on happens to be this thing, and people happen to have gotten attached to it. So like I had this profound experience where I was able to come back after that and be like, okay, well, if all of these people just had a thing that they got good at, Sean O'Malley decided that he was going to get really good at fighting. Right. He's also hilarious and like so many other things too. But most of these people that we know their names and kind of what they're up to found a thing, got good at it, and people recognize them for it. Yeah. And so I came back and I was like,
okay, well now I've got this realization. What do I do with it? I'm curious for you, coming off of that experience and having it pretty fresh still, what are the things that like your gears are turning on as far as like, how do I process this? What do I turn this into? Like, what are those pieces that are kind of like floating around right now?
Okay. This is big, but it's, I might as well throw it out there. I've only talked to my wife about it really, and some friends, but, haven't talked to my parents about it, but it involves them where like, we've been looking for like a property out, near Red Lodge or somewhere like that's just out of town, near a river or stream or something. And so I'm like, seeing this place, like I'm not, well, I'll just explain it. Okay. So
get in there.
like kind of having a little compound that is a house and a studio, but talking to Sean and seeing him and his dad, how he's helping him, ushering it into the end. And then there was another guy there, Townsend, who wants to make a hospice retirement home that's like communal and like, you know, kind of a beautiful way to leave the earth. And it was just kind of all these things compounding where it was like, oh, I'd love to have a property where like my parents lived there and they could be with the boys and we could all work on this property. And then there was a place for them to go instead of like a home or have like full-time care or whatever. But we like kind of went back to like maybe an older style, like European, you know, model of like the families are multi-generational in the household, you know, and so that, and then attached to that is like a small version of what I experienced at Pachyderm, where the band or a couple artists, you know, people could stay and record an album, and then I would be the facilitator and like producer, engineer, instrumentalist on it. So that would be like big interim goal.
Yeah.
And then that would also help to fulfill like a community aspect, to have something like that in near Billings area and like honor the beauty and nature that we have around here that I find to be sacred and part of my creative process too.
Yeah.
So that was like the big takeaway.
Yeah. So like a vision for what that, I don't know if I'd call it an end goal, but something like that is like, I can create something that feels like this. Mm-hmm. Was that the inspiration a little bit?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Huh. I think one of the thing that was like running in the back of my head as you were saying that is there's been a couple of like different places that I've been on tour with Drew that like I can't believe really exist. Like the Mish, for example.
Yeah.
It's out in the middle of nowhere outside of Denver. It's like an hour and a half on a dirt road to get to it.
Yeah, windy road.
The dopest place of all time.
Yeah.
Beautiful amphitheater, like really well built. There's a river in the back of it. Like it's just this beautiful place that like the only reason I knew about it was because it happened to be on the leg that I was on.
Yeah.
I never would have found that place. Mm-hmm. Cook City is doing a little music festival, you know, once a year now, where it's like that thing is, if you don't know about, you can't get to Cook City on accident.
No.
You know, so like there's these places that I feel like have this magical thing, and they're like these destination places where you kind of have to go to them on purpose. Mm-hmm. And what I'm curious about is like, it sounds like that's the kind of thing that you'd be building. Like the thing where musicians can go, we're going to go spend time in the mountains in Montana. We're going to go do this thing. It's next to a creek. It's next to, like, they're telling the story that you just told.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
When they go back home and do their thing.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah, exactly.
How does that, I know it's still in like the idea stages and stuff like that, but what would be the story that you want people to tell when they leave that place that you create?
I think it would be very similar to the story that I'm saying after leaving Pachyderm, and because it would be geared towards that, like there would be opportunity to maybe take them fishing, or, you know, like the music would be there, but the secondary aspects of like hiking or snowshoeing, or, you know, there would be, depending on what season it was, like ways to connect with nature and themselves. And I think that that's so much of what we as modern humans are taught to do is like connect with things and instead of and the like the task at hand, instead of connecting with ourselves and then creating around that or creating out of that space. Like, for me, to know yourself is the level one, and then build out of that.
Right.
And great stuff gets made out of not that, but I think you have different experiences with yourself and the land and the people you're with when you get to do it holistically like that.
For sure. Yeah. That's so freaking cool, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Selfishly, I really want to come and take photos there once you build it.
You'll be the first,
first
person I call.
So excited.
Yeah. It's just, I mean, right now, man, missed the boat on buying land in Montana for a minute.
Lots of people want it now.
But yeah. So I was even talking to my wife last night. I was like, do we sell our properties and just like go all in on this thing? I'm like, that would be kind of a bummer. Cause you're trying to build this like thing to take care of your family.
Right.
I don't know. So, but Montana's tough right now. It'd probably be easier to move to, Minneapolis and buy a property.
Right. If we could all go back and buy Bitcoin, man.
I know. Dang it.
Shucks.
They told us.
Yeah, they did. It's been really cool hearing about this thing. I love being able to have a chance to like talk to somebody fresh off of one of these experiences, because I feel like it gives like a lens. It's almost like you're wearing like a gratitude pair of sunglasses that you're looking at the world through. Or like, it's like reading a book that's real impactful. Like, it just changes your worldview and your thing for a little while. Yeah. So it's really cool to be able to catch you coming right off the back of that kind of thing. I'm glad to do it because it's nice to like be kind of, grilled on it to get it out. Cause it's just been like, like, what do I do? I've just been going around like, I had the best time and I can't like trap anybody and tell them, but I have you right here. I'm your captive audience today. Hell yeah. So, for everybody who doesn't know your background and like why it makes a ton of sense for you to get the invite that you got to go do this experience, what are some of the things about you and about your past that they would need to know to like understand the musician and the person that you are today? Ooh. Okay. I grew up around my dad's bands like all my life. Like they were my John Lennon and Paul McCartney and Jimi Hendrix's like, and then, so I always had that in me of like, I want to play music. And then, did the normal teen stuff and skated and snowboarded and partied and did sports and stuff. And then, I came back to music like my junior year and just like went way in. And then ever since then, I've been chasing like how to do it, but it was always like how to do it in Billings. It was always like the draw here. So I've just spent my life in Billings trying to do all the things that you could do sort of professionally, but here. And so I've been very fortunate to like, I play guitar and bass professionally and was able to get studio work for bass and freelance work for bass and then freelance work for guitar and and like juggle the thing. So I've always been able to play music. So I've been doing it with that skill set and just honing like my voice and what I bring to music. So it's kind of like having a PhD in how to play music with people and how to make music. Okay. I'm not like, a Victor Wooten or Eddie Van Halen shredder on the instruments, but I like what I bring is like, I'm going to make music with you and you're going to feel connected to what it is that I do. And we're going to make the best thing that we can make together. And I think that's just from a life of loving music and like trying to honor it and nurture it and do it in the most honest way possible. Like, and I've been fortunate to be able to work on that as my job and then study it as a teacher and a student, or a student and a teacher. Yeah. And so I'm always like the student or the teacher of music. Gotcha. All my life. What is that? How has that student and teacher thing progressed over the course of your life? Because it sounds like the student thing probably started watching your pops do the dang thing. Yeah. But what are some of like the pit stops or the milestones along the way where, you know, like the learning has taken big milestones, and then when did the teaching thing start to loop its way in also?
Oh, that's cool. I became a student of it big time when I, you know, went through the quintessential high school breakup. Okay. And just like,
that'll do it, baby.
Just me and my guitar, dude. And so I just learned as many songs as I could, and then started, you know, got some friends. My buddy Steve Brown, I'd come visit him, and I had a buddy in Coeur d'Alene, Jared McFarland, and we would just play whenever we were together, you know. And so, and then started meeting more and more friends. My senior year, I had a teacher. I went on this retreat and played a song for my like end of the thing sharing time, and the high school music teacher was there, and he pulled me aside and was like, "Hey, we need a guitar player in our jazz band." And it was like the first couple of weeks of school, and so I joined jazz band, and then quickly changed all my classes for my senior year to like, we did a stomp class. I started playing cello. I was in choir. I was in jazz band. I was like, we were doing, you know, independent studies with all the music teachers. So I was playing piano and like stuff just all day. I was just doing music basically. And then a couple of the credits that I had to do. And so that was really life-changing, where I got to be a real, like a technical student, learning some theory and stuff, and then doing a little bit of college. And during college, I think I did 2 years at MSUB. I started doing lessons somehow. Okay. Like just
teaching lessons?
Yeah, just teaching lessons is like a side hustle. Yeah. And I kind of had a knack for it. And then I went and toured for a couple years with my band, and then came back and became a freelance musician, and then again got to be a student, and then went back to school to get my performance degree at Rocky, and became a student again. But I became a teacher in the midst of that too. So then I was like teaching and student at the same time. Okay. And like, that was sort of like two of the thrusters ignited. And then once I did that, then it was like, they're just like working in tandem, where
interesting.
I'm always learning and seeking out new techniques or recording or, you know, riffs or songs. And so that's all happening. And I'm teaching students. So I get to like learn a Billie Eilish song, which is super cool. And it influences me to then like maybe a recording technique or a bass line or a tone, or I don't know. So it's just always one or the other.
That's one of my favorite things to hear teachers talk about, is so many of them have the exact same reflection on the correlation between their teaching and their skill set. And whether it's people who I've met who like started out as jiu-jitsu practitioners and then started coaching, or playing music and then start teaching, it seems like so often what they come back and say is the biggest thing that made me make my jump with my skill set is when I started teaching.
Oh, 100%.
It's like, how did you experience that?
It filled in the gaps and then solidified the things that you already knew, the skills that you had. Yeah. So, I mean, for me, it was like finding ways also to explain what it is that I did just naturally, or by sitting on the couch for all those hours in riffing and learning stuff. Mm-hmm. And so doing that and having to explain it to a bunch of different people for years and years just like deepens the it's like old guy strength or whatever. Like you've just done it so long and so many times that like it becomes, I don't know, I keep using superpower, but it does feel like a superpower. Like you're so honed in on this stuff that it's like, it just becomes deeper and deeper. And so, realizing like that stuff, and then always having an instrument in my hand when I'm working is like, not a lot of people get to do that.
How so?
So like, when I show up to make money, I have a guitar or a bass in my hand. And so I'm getting better at my instrument while I'm working. And so then I take that into like the creative spaces too. And I'm always like in shape
for sure,
and learning too.
Yeah.
So I'm, it's like forcing me to practice even when I'm at work. So it's like a benefit and byproduct of the job as well.
It like builds on itself a little bit. That's really interesting. So one of the things that, I don't know, I think it happens with a lot of different kinds of creative ventures, but one of the biggest joys, I suppose, that I have with the media company that I've created is I get to take people who are creatives or want to be creatives, who have a knack for videography and photography. And so many of them are in a position where they're like kind of side hustling it, or they're doing, it's like this passion project, but it's like a couple $100 here and there. They're not really doing much with it. And give them a platform to say, hey, this can actually support your life. Like you can step into this thing where your passion is your life. Like it's your livelihood. It's all these different things. And it sounds like you maybe broke that barrier down really early by starting to like teach lessons as a side hustle. And then that blossomed into a full teaching career and then freelance career and all these different things. So how have you balanced that thing of like your creative pursuit also being your profession? Like how does that dynamic shift as you start like with a side hustle and then having now like a full-time teaching thing and full-time freelance and studio work? How does all that get balanced?
Trial by fire. Like you sort of, or my personality is like, oh, this works. Like, let's do it. And so then you have a huge studio of students and they're like, oh, that's not it. I'm burned out. Like, and not enjoying music or teaching or kids or,
like the teaching got too big.
Yeah. The teaching gets too big. And then so a lot of it all kind of happened at the same time. I was like freelancing a ton and teaching a ton and starting to get studio work too. So I was doing like for years, I was playing like 170 gigs a year. Like I was like playing all the time and I had a newborn and I was going like, I was doing way too much.
Wow.
And so it really started to like take a toll on me where I realized I was hating the thing that I loved so much. And I was uninspired. I think, depressed, and you start, your life starts getting weird at that point. And so it was just like finding out how to have boundaries with each one of those things, like but only through doing too much.
Yeah.
Do I really learn? I'm not like great at being like, oh, I bet I'd feel great if I only did 20 students a week. I'm like, well, let's do, as many as we can and then play gigs after that. And then if there's anything left, I'll take time for myself or my family or whatever. And so that, thankfully my wife is really great at being one of those people that's like, here's how you manage life. And so if it weren't for her, I have no idea what I'd be doing, but it's like finding that threshold and then tapering it back to maybe not making the most money, but like what effect can I have positively on my students? Like how many students can I remember what they did last week when they come in next week?
Yeah.
And if I can't remember something about them or what they're doing, like what we did last week or something about them that we talked about, then I have too many students because I want to have that personal connection with my students. It's not just about teaching them how to play a board with strings on it. It's like, how do we make you the best version of yourself with an instrument in your hand, if that's the path you choose, or maybe these things will help you in the path that you choose. And then with music, it's the same thing. If I can't memorize the music with the band I'm playing in, I'm probably not invested enough in the music to like really connect with everybody on stage and give the music what it deserves and then the audience what it deserves. And granted, there's times I got to read music or whatever. But for the most part, it's that. So how many gigs can I take? How many bands can I be in that I can do that to the best of my ability? And then studio work, I'll, if I have free time and, there's calls, like
right.
I'll do whatever I can to do studio work, but still have time to do the family too. Like, how can I be home as many nights as possible, or go golfing with friends, or make it into the jiu-jitsu gym or whatever.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's how I started trying to manage it. Like, how can I make myself feel good and also honor all the things that I'm doing every day and like live out of that place.
One of the things that I think is interesting about that is I tend to be the same kind of person where I'll go full tilt on something and find wherever the end of that threshold is, and then work backwards and be like, okay, which place along the way seemed like it was the best resting point where you're like, there's a good balance here. I've never heard it described that way though, so it's like that's very helpful for me to be able to see it that way.
Like reverse engineer the problem.
It's like, I'm gonna go to the very end of this road and see where the cul-de-sac's at, and then figure out where I want to put my house along the way. And like,
I think that's good.
We'll be there. But what I find interesting about that is I think that like it's beautiful because it gives you this like this retrospective like hindsight almost with your own life. It's like, okay, I went to the very end of this thing and I know what burnout looks like for me. I know what 40 students looks like, so I know that 20 is actually my sweet spot or whatever. And I just came off of a phase where I kind of did that thing, but I did it for the first time on purpose. So I was like,
nice.
Coming off of this last phase, I decided, without getting super into it, I was kind of in this loop where I'd get just good enough in my business where things were rocking and rolling. My team was, taken care of, blah, blah, blah. And then I'd try to like walk away from that a little bit and focus more on the podcast and being creative and whatever. And then I do that long enough that the business would start to suffer. And it was like this teeter-totter.
Dude, yeah.
And it was miserable. So I decided, I was like, okay, well, I'm going to go find the end of this business road and just go full tilt on that and try to get the shit figured out that I know that I need to figure out for this to be sustainable. And only after doing that, I'll be able to look back and be like, okay, we've set a foundation. Where is the sweet spot here? And so it was the first time that the tendency that we have to redline it and then figure it out afterwards, that I did that on purpose. And so I'm curious from your perspective of having a life of doing this thing with music and family and all of the subfolders under that. Is it a strategy or is it a thing now where if you do it on purpose, it can be beneficial?
It's okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think I was talking about something similar to this with a group of guys that I meet with every a couple weeks. And it was like, it's like, okay, here's what we're talking about our next like 10 years, I think. And it was like, okay, we did our last, it was like Matt Blakeslee from the Art House. It's like, okay, we know what it's like when we finish something. How do we do our next thing, but maybe not redline it, not try to make 3 theaters and then another theater on top of it. And then all the other stuff. Yeah. So it's like, I want to be creative and I want to, maybe it's make this house possible or this property possible, but it's like, okay, knowing our tendency, is there a way to do it healthier? Like still redline, but like, factor in like, okay, you're going to like when I was remodeling this investment property we had, it was like all day and then go to work and then come back and work all night. And it's like, how do you just like adjust like the time frame or whatever? Like maybe I want to grow this business. I want it to be 6 months, or I want to make an album, but I want it to be in a month. But it's like, how about just like make an album and have it come out in 6 months? Right. And then make sure that you're working on it a few hours a day, but like focused redlining, flow state, you have 1 day a week where you do that or whatever. So it's like trying to manage that maybe. Gotcha. I don't know. Like, cause the easiest way for me is to just like, okay, I'm going to go off into, the woods and make an album. Right. I don't know, which is fine, but it's like, I don't know. I'm still figuring it out. Yeah. Cause it is really like, I'm trying to learn how to schedule things maybe and like slow burn and have that be like the consistency is the redlining. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. Cause I'm like you, I'm like, I'm going to do all this and then I'm going to go do all this. And then like, I just keep like kind of like rubber banding a bit, get a ton of stuff done, but I don't know.
Yeah. One of the things that we had chatted about previously was, kind of how, like, I think both of us kind of structure our summers in a similar way this year. And, I thought it was a really interesting discovery for me to think about that redlining phase and going, like, knowingly going all in on something and having like this idea of, okay, probably usually for me it's 3 months. Like 3 months is usually where like that tail end of burnout to the point where I'm like, fuck this.
Yeah.
That's where like that usually starts to set in. And before, what I would do is I'd be like, okay, well, we're about to have one of those. So I'm going to book a trip for 3 months from now where it's going to be like a release valve.
Yeah.
You know, where I'm just going to be like, okay, I'm out. But what would happen is I'd be so miserable by the time I got to that trip, and I'd just be like, I'd be a bad person to be around. Most of like I hadn't been seeing my friends. A lot of times I'd like train at the gym less. I'd do so many of the things that like make life enjoyable. I'd be like, nope, I said I was going to do this thing. I'm doing this thing. And this summer, what I decided to do instead was just like have, okay, well, 5 days a week, I'm going to like contain this redlining. And then on the weekends, I'm going to try and have something to get me away from it, like on calendar, probably out of town, like that kind of thing. And what I found is like reflecting on this summer, I have this sense of how hard I worked on everything, but the things that my brain is attaching to are like the concerts I went to and the camping trips and like the stuff that was 5% of the time that I actually spent. Like most of my time I was click-clacking away at my fucking computer screen staring into the black abyss, but like it's not what I remember.
Yeah.
You know? And so I'm curious for you, like talk to me a little bit about that phase for you and how that affected your perspective on this like redlining nature.
Well, yeah. And hearing you talk about that on your Q&A podcast, like if you haven't listened to that, go give it a 5-star review.
I paid him to say all these things.
But yeah, I kind of was, it was like building up to that. Now I tried to be a funny guy and I forgot what the question was.
The question was like so you told me that you had scheduled purposely things with your family, with your kids and stuff like that this summer. And how did choosing to do that in your latest phase of like going hard on things, how did that change your perspective on this like redlining tendency that we're talking about?
Oh yeah. It made it feel like, it wasn't as severe and it is, and hearing you explain it that way made me go, oh yeah, that's like what I was doing. Like I didn't really realize it. I was just trying to like I'm trying to build the schedule in and have the family be, or all those things be a part of it. Like, and that's, like you said, like that's the stuff you remember. Like I'm going to go play with buddy Kalen Beasley and Cody tonight. And then we're going to play Casper tomorrow. And I was like, should I bring clubs? And he's like, why not? And I was like, okay. So if we have time tomorrow, we'll play a gig tonight. We'll play golf in the morning and then go play the gig. And it almost makes, it's like giving me something where I get we're hanging out and being friends. We're outside, we're golfing, doing something fun, but then there's work like happening too. And so the work is like tied into the fun. I don't know if it's like not that work is ever not fun, but it like kind of changes your mind about it. And so like doing the thing in Cook City, it was like, oh, I'm playing music with my friends. My family's here. So we get to have free time. And I remember that so much more than like, oh, I played a festival outside in Cook City. It was like the family went and did this huge, really cool thing. And then the next night we went and saw the wildflowers or the wallflowers in Pine Creek and like camped and, and so it's like tying all this stuff in. It's like, oh, we had the most epic summer of our lives and I worked. Yeah. I guess.
Right. Yeah.
And so it's like trying to make that stuff happen also justifies, I think, some of the times where I am like redlining and maybe the family balance isn't as scaled properly. But then when we go like have a trip booked for Fairmont for 2 nights at the end of the month, where it's like, had a couple of busy, like September and October were busy. Let's get away, celebrate my son's 13th birthday, and just like get away from it. And then you like reset and then come into the holiday season, you know, and stuff like that. So like finding those breaks, where in the past my tendency is like, it's like, oh, we haven't had a date in 12 months, you know, or whatever, or like, you know, good quality vacation or whatever. So just like baking it in to the schedule, like as a, what do they say? Like a non-negotiable or whatever.
Yeah. There was, there's a guy that I traveled with when I was 20, I think I was 22 at the time. I was in a roundabout way doing some, marketing work for a medical sales company. And I ended up in this really cool position where I was getting flown around the world to do like trainings and trade shows and all of this different stuff that, quite frankly, I probably didn't have any business being at. But it was really cool because this guy, his name was Bill Perusek. He was a very accomplished and like a guy that I looked up to quite a bit in the business world. But he spent so much time on the road. He was based in Tampa, but this company that we were doing stuff for had offices in Boston and in Paris. And so it's doing trade shows and sales and trainings in Europe and in the States and all of the travel that comes with both of that. And there was one year, I think he said he spent 200 nights in hotels.
Wow.
It's a lot. And I had a chance to, I think we were in Vegas for a training. And we had this trip where we were in Vegas for like 3 days or so doing the training for these residents. And then we were flying straight from Vegas to Austin to do a trade show and meeting the rest of the team out there. So I got to spend like a week straight with him. And when we were in Vegas, it wasn't that busy. And we had like a total free day because I was like, well, we're not going to fly home and then go back. So his wife came out. And it was so cool being able to see them interact and like have fun and just make this work thing a family thing, or make this work thing like a date vacation kind of deal for a day and a half. And I was asking him about it. I was like, man, it's so cool that like you've got this thing going on. You've got the hotel paid for by the company. You've got this free day. And it's so cool that your wife decides to come out and like you guys just make the best of this situation. And he told me, he was like, you know, everybody, or so many people look at me and they say that my life is consumed by work. He's like, but what we figured out is work-life alignment is more important than work-life balance, because work-life balance would have meant that I would have been trying to fly home between these two things, spend 12 hours in Tampa, get back on a plane, do this and that. And like for this sense of balance that doesn't really exist. But how we can align our lives is like building these companies mean a lot to me. I really enjoy this job. I really do all these things. And so if we can align things in a way where my wife can come out and we can turn these, 200 nights on the road into 100 of those being quote unquote vacations between me and my wife. That's a way where like, it's not balance. I'm still 200 nights on the road, but all of a sudden, like we're weaving the family thing in, we're weaving the date night thing in. And like, there's a way that you can align all that stuff. And when you were telling me about bringing your family out to like some of the gigs that you were playing and stuff like that, it was very reminiscent to me of the fact that you can weave those two things together and it doesn't have to be a clear division between the two. Yeah.
I had that for so long. And part of it was because we had young kids. And so like, I remember our, like it was maybe a New Year's Eve gig or something with Kyle Shobe. And we always get hotels and stuff like that. So I brought Amanda and baby Ezra. And dude, it was like fun and they were there and everybody got to meet Ezra and this whole cool thing. And then Ezra cried all night in the hotel room. Like she had finally gotten him to sleep. I get home at like 1:30 after we tear everything down. Yep. Or I get to the hotel, stub my toe on the bed, wake Ezra up. He cries all night. She wants to go home. It's raining, and we're just like, oh, we were trying to do this alignment and it turned into being a nightmare, and so we just sort of like, fire hot, fire bad. So, and so it was that like, well, dad's just going to work, and I didn't like that, but slowly integrating that has been really awesome. And I love the way of like aligning it because now everybody's at the age where they can handle it, and we end up having a good time. So it's like, it's become a positive, and it didn't start there, but it was a kind of a muscle we built as a family, and it's been like such a huge blessing to do.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm really grateful that I get to do that, or like have the desire to do that too. Cause if I didn't, I'd be missing out on so much of that.
For people who maybe haven't tried that experiment, or they do kind of have a little bit more of that black and white look at those things, what were some of the things that you started to work in that helped with that alignment piece?
I think it's partly getting older. When I was young, like gigs were like work, and then you would hang afterwards and maybe drink and just decompress. And so it always felt like that was my time, which was maybe necessary for that season. But as that started to be like, okay, like I miss my family, I was doing that thing. Like I would play in, even Bozeman. Like I'd play in Bozeman, get done at 11:30, drive home, get home at 3, asleep by 3:30, try to wake up in the morning and hang out with my family. But it would be like, I'd be irritable. I'd be super tired. Yeah. Or the alternative is like, stay the night somewhere, try to leave early after getting done at 2:30, and then wake up at 8 and be home by as soon as possible, Yeah. And then same thing. Like I'm irritable, I'm disrupting their flow. And so like being like, okay, how do we do this? And being inspired by people like my friend Kyle Shobe, who takes his family everywhere. Like he's a professional auctioneer, and he does all these events like Stockman's Balls and Country or Cowboy Hall of Fames and all these corporate events, and his band plays, and I've been in his band for 11 years, and he just takes his kids and they sleep under the soundboard, or they, they're just there. They know that when they're with dad, they don't complain, they don't bother him. And so being like, okay, he's doing it, and it probably wasn't easy at first, but like they just get used to it. So I started doing that, really leaning into it this summer, but starting a couple years ago and building up to that.
Yeah. I think that sounds really cool. And I think for people who travel a lot, it's really like actionable, I suppose, because just reframing, okay, yes, I'm going on this trip. Yes, I'm going to be gone, but I have a hotel in blah, blah, blah place for a night. Yeah. How could somebody else yes, I'm going to be working until, I don't know, I get off at 11 when the thing is done, but could my family go do something fun? And then I get to, we can all have breakfast tomorrow and do something fun in the morning before we go home. Like trying to spot some of those things where it's like, okay, when I take me out of the equation, how would somebody else enjoy this time?
And that's it too.
And so that's one of the cool things to me. I'm curious though, for the people where maybe travel isn't as much of the thing. You talked about it earlier, where you've got a lot of pursuits that are maybe enjoyable, that are like pulling at your time, from teaching to playing to freelancing and studio and jiu-jitsu and like remodels. You've got so much shit going on. And if you talk to anybody that is involved with like you in any of those buckets, I've never met a person that's got a bad thing to say about you.
Nice.
And so it's like, so
good.
that, but what that like reflects to me is like when you do those things, it seems like you're like all in on them, and you're like in those places. So when you've got that many things that are pulling at you, how do you find ways like in that mode where it's you're in Billings, you're kind of doing the day-to-day thing, how do you start looping family and stuff into that?
It's I think I'm fortunate where I'm at with family, and the way that I've structured my business is it's not like, I'm not like, I have friends who are, this is what Amanda and I were talking about last night. It's like, I have friends that are making way, way more money than me as a success and, at their age in what they've been doing professionally, but they've got to work a lot to make that money. And, most of them do, but like, I've always been able to make my money in these like chunks. So like my mornings are always spent, like, especially when the kids were younger, like the mornings were jump on the trampoline, you go on walks, you go do all this stuff. Like most of the time mornings were for them. And then my work and then my free time was all like the back end of the day. And now I'm starting to structure it where, and getting like more studio work and stuff like that is great. So more day work. So I can like do the morning, do a smaller morning thing and then, work and then make sure I'm carving time out for, kids and that in family. And that's more of like the finding that alignment and balance too, saying no to a ton of stuff, you know, which I wish I could say yes to everything, but it's like, there's those boundaries where it's like, I've got these things set in place that I have musically that I know I can do and make money and checks off all the boxes. And then, so then I have nights and stuff free. Like last night I had an afternoon gig and then, was able to go Ezra dressed for the A-Team, last night at Castle Rock. And it was like, okay, I could sit and work on my album, which maybe I would have done in the past, is like had that time, like this is my time, and Amanda would go, you know, because he didn't know if he was going to play or not. So it was a gamble, but
right. Yeah.
but you know, went out there and supported him. He didn't play, but it was like, I was thankful that I was able to do that. So it's like making myself carve out some of those times too, to just make stuff happen. That way.
It's like if you don't put a divider for that time, then like all of your other professional stuff starts to bleed into that time. And then all of a sudden you just don't have it anymore.
Yep. Yeah, easily. And so being like, almost like fighting for it as my window with my kids is closing, I'm like almost even more like protective about that time. And even for myself, because my natural tendency is to be like, well, I'm already at the studio. Like I'll get there when I need to pick him up. But it's like, no, just go be there. Like, I don't know. It's, and those little things I think mean a lot more to us than we give them credit for too. So
one of the things we were talking about off mic before we got started today that I find really interesting is, talking about the idea that like some people's success isn't something that you can point at, or it's not something that has a number with a comma or two commas in it. Like there's different versions of it that sometimes like a felt sense of success is so much different than something that you can measure, whether it's money or house or car, or whatever the material thing is. Right.
Yeah.
And I think you and Andreas are the two people that I almost always leave a conversation with being like, I need to be more of a human. You know, like I gotta, like there's so much more to life than just like these things that are objective and due dates and checklists and all this shit that I perpetually hamster wheel myself with. But one of the things that makes me curious is like, it's a great reminder every time I hear you say something like, I've got like the family thing is more important to me. These mornings are so important to me. It's this and that. Have you found yourself having to mentally remind yourself, or mentally like, maybe justify isn't the right word, but like deal with the fact that like, okay, these things mean a lot to me and this is my version of success. And when the buddy who's making, you know, $250,000 a year, when I look at him, like, how do you remind yourself of that's not my version of success? Or the way that he got that isn't my version of success. Because I think it's really easy to look at and be like, it's easy for everybody to be like, oh yeah, no, the things that matter are the little things and the small and this and that.
Yeah.
It's really easy to parrot that like crazy. But when it comes time to actually make a decision of block out your mornings, like you don't take meetings before 9 or whatever the thing is, like how in your head have you been as good as you've been about like staying true to that?
Oh, I mean, I guess that the other side note is it's not always that.
We're humans, yeah, for sure.
You know, there's seasons where...
Tell me you're perfect, Parker Brown.
I don't want anybody to think that I got this shit figured out. It's hard, man. I think I do struggle with optical success a lot, and I have to remind myself, and the universe does provide for me in ways that remind me that what I am doing is success in the greater story of my life. And like going to do this recording and just little interactions and stuff like that. So even this conversation, because I was just getting bogged down with the like, wow, I make a fraction of what this household makes, but I'm still saving money, and I'm still like, by all my own metrics, I'm successful and probably, more than most. And, so it is that taking a step back and like analyzing it through the lens of what is meaningful and what, like how fortunate I am. And even if that's sacrificing another comma and some more zeros, like reminding yourself how important that is. And, but also striving to healthily, set up that maybe some of those zeros and a comma come or whatever, so it's like, I don't know, that's my mindset too, is to always keep growing and trying to figure out how to do things better and improve things for my next generations. But not at the expense of like who I am as a person too. And sometimes that's frustrating because I think I would be a really good, like, commercial real estate agent or something, somewhere where I took my hustle and, moderate charisma to, put my face on some billboards. I might sell make some serious money. My soul would be crushed, and it's just not who I am. And so I know that I can't do that. So I have to make it all work, because all this other stuff, like in like my own integrity and family and legacy and stuff, and personality and soul revolves around that.
Yeah.
And so, but it's like, how can I kind of get some of the good, our growth,
while staying true to that.
While staying true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are there any questions or reminders or anything that brings you back to that balance or back to that realization that you ask yourself when gets tempting to be like, oh, but if I started a side hustle doing some real estate, or if I did like when you start to be like, yeah, but if I just sold my soul a little bit, not the whole thing, just a tiny bit, if I just did some of this other shit over here. Are there any like questions or reminders or frameworks that bring you back to like, this is who I am. I'm not going to do these shiny object things.
Yeah. That same group of friends, one of my buddies, Ethan Canning, he's like,
I know Ethan.
Yeah. You know Ethan. Yeah. And I'm like, do you think I could kind of work with, and he's like, no, no, you can't. And you wouldn't be good at it. You're built for this thing. And like the world needs that. And so my mantra has been, actually, I just started reading Meditations again. I took it on the plane, and it was a quote from that. But it wasn't Marcus Aurelius, but he said, it was like, you're like me, you doing something else would be like putting a veil on a star. And so I use that as like the mantra, like the world has enough people doing all the things that like make money and feed that thing. The world doesn't have enough people out there like making art and being creative and sticking to that. Like, so yeah, it's sort of like, like if I was to do that, it'd be like an angel losing its wings. Not that I'm an angel, but I'm trying to think, there's like a cartoon where they like turn to stone, and it's I'm doing, this sounds like maybe a little self-grandiose, but like I'm doing this for that thing on earth, is to like be creative and keep doing that. So, and not, I make capitalism seem like bad, but like turn over to that thing, but that's just from my own story. Like, that's just what I feel like I was put on earth to do, is that. And so I don't want to, take that away. I don't know, and you just hope that it is doing the good that you think it's doing.
For sure.
I don't know. But that's sort of the mantra, is like the world has enough real estate agents. It doesn't have enough people doing what I'm doing. And only I can do what I'm doing as far as the music I make and what I bring to projects and what I write and what I produce into the world. So that's what I have to hang my hat on.
Absolutely.
To keep me grounded.
Yeah. I have a question off that. I have to pee so bad.
Yeah,
right
let's
now.
break.
Okay, cool. Break, everybody. Hey guys, just a brief pause in the show to ask one quick favor. A lot of you guys who listen, even the day ones who listen every week, have yet to rate this show on their favorite platform. And so that's the one thing that I'm going to ask you guys. It really helps us grow the show. It helps us get awesome guests on the show. And if you could give us a 5-star rating on your favorite platform that you're listening on right now, it would probably take 10 seconds, but it would mean the world to me. And it'll really help us continue to make an awesome show for you guys. So if you don't mind, that's the only ask. We're not running any ads right now. We're not asking anything of you guys. We just want to be putting out a great show. So if you could go do that, that'd be awesome. And until then, let's get back to the show. One of the questions that I have about this like thing of staying true to yourself as a creative is I've been fascinated with this realization, I guess, lately, that specifically with musicians, the start of almost every musical career kind of looks similar. It's like something like what you're talking about your junior year where you're like jamming on a guitar after a breakup, or you're like banging on drums in your garage, or like, I think a lot of those journeys look similar. And I think a lot of the responses to that dream also look the same. Where like, it's like, oh, I want to be in a band. It's like, cool, bro. You're like, oh, hey, we've got this show. We're releasing this thing. It's like, okay, send me the SoundCloud link. I'll send you a thumbs up, right? Like, I think a lot of that is like, there's like this weird eye roll thing that is like, oh, here's another dude who thinks he's going to be a rock star. Another person who thinks he's going to be blah, blah, blah. And I think that we see a Zach Bryan, we see somebody who like makes it from posting a couple videos on Twitter to selling the biggest country concerts of all time.
Yeah.
And we see like the end result and we glorify the beginning, but we forget that like at the beginning when he's posting those videos, there's no connection. There's no like end thing where it's like, yeah, I'm in this phase right now, but eventually I'm going to sell out Ann Arbor's football stadium. There's going to be 100,000 people there. There's no, like, you can't know at the beginning that that is the thing that you're in the first chapter of.
Right.
And so I don't know what caused me to have that realization, but I've had so much respect for that trust lately, where each time that you pick up the guitar, you have no idea if you're going to be the guy who ends up like just garage banding his whole life, or if you end up the guy selling out a football stadium.
Yeah.
And so I'm curious for you, like going through this journey where you've had so many different versions of teaching and freelancing and playing at Red Rocks and doing crazy musical shit, like along this whole journey. How has trust woven itself into the journey that you've been on so far?
That's a great question. The thing that comes to mind first is, I've always had a trust, and I think it was built on, I mean, in the beginning, it's built on like hubris or whatever.
Maybe a bit of delusion.
Yeah. You're like, well, if John Mayer can do it, like I can play some blues solos too, and I'll write songs. And, you're like, you go, oh, this would be, you look at the career and you go, that would be the path. Like I would love to tour and play shows. Yeah. Like what a dream job, and then through my life, like I went through I've gone through these little blips of really diving into spirituality, a lot of Christianity, and then like Eastern thought, or, it doesn't matter, but like, just searching, going. And one of the things that I took away is like trusting God or the universe to provide. Like, I think there's a scripture like freely you give, freely you receive, or something. And so it's like, I've always been taken care of all my life from my family, but then also felt the sense that I'm taken care of by things and forces that I have no idea what they are. And so it's like, if I'm true to myself and true to what I'm supposed to be doing, and like not holding anything too tightly and not holding anything too loosely, that I'm taken care of. And I think you have to have that mindset as like a freelance gigging musician, because even after a busy summer, every summer I'm like, I don't know if gigs are going to roll in. And then they do. Like my summer's already filling up or whatever. Or now it's, you don't know if there's another COVID's going to happen. But even through COVID, like I was taken care of. Like it was super scary for a while, and then things happened, and anyway. So there's that element of just, and you can do it when you're in your 20s. Like that's the best time to do it. Like you're doing, like where you don't have to provide for a family quite yet, and you can kind of test the waters. But if you start seeing signs that you're going to be okay, and your optics are adjusted, if you're not like, well, I posted 2 videos on YouTube and I'm not as popular as Zach Bryan yet. Like he's an anomaly. Like you have to recognize where the anomalies are, and also look at how many people are doing what you're doing successfully. Like that it might not look like, the highest of the high of what you're, the most successful or whatever. So it's like keeping a good perspective, but like feeling that you're being taken care of, and then leaning into that and being like, I see that I'm being taken care of. I don't need to live in fear. And there's just, I don't know, oddly some cycle that happens.
Interesting.
That makes you feel secure enough to keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah, fair. Do you think, have there been times where you've had to open yourself up to seeing that you're being taken care of?
Yeah. I think it especially in those times of like when you start doing well, he has that or they have that mindset, and then you kind of take a step back and then go, oh, well, wow, I have this and I have that. And I like getting all your baseball cards out to see what you have in your collection. Yeah. Not just like, what the kid brought to school that you saw, yeah. I don't know. Like, so there's a lot of times I have to kind of, whenever I hear myself comparing myself, I take a step back and realize like how I have been taken care of, and then look back, or if I'm worried about work or something like, oh, well, I'm nervous that I won't have as big of a year as I did last year. And then it's like, well, what makes you think that? When have you ever had a year that was worse than last year? I don't know. So it's like stuff like that.
Yeah, I was just listening to Joe Rogan's podcast with Lionel Bridges.
Oh yeah,
is that his name? I'm like miserably bad at remembering names and celebrities and the whole thing. No, I get him and some Lionel Richie. That's who it is. I get Leon. I get Leon Bridges and Lionel Richie mixed up in my brain. But anyways, he was talking about this moment where he was real spun out about what to do with his music career, and what I found interesting about it is he was recalling this conversation that he had with his mom where he's like, I don't know if I should go to school. I don't know if I should leave this band. I don't know if I should start this other one or go solo. Like, I just have no idea. And I feel like I need to do something and do blah, blah, blah. And he talks about how his mom looked at him and she, like, just like you said with the baseball cards, like laid out all of the things. Well, did you think that did you work hard and end up in this band on purpose? Well, no. Did you get this album made on purpose or just pop up? Well, yeah. Did you and all of these things were like, none of the things that exist in your life right now that are the highlight things are things that you like meant to do. It wasn't a plan that you had. It wasn't a thing. It's just like you directionally did the thing that felt correct for you, and then it happened. And she goes, so instead of you trying to plan your way out of this, I think what you really should do is like go to bed because it's 10:30 and then just like do whatever feels like it's the thing to do tomorrow. I think that that's such good advice, and it's the kind of advice that I think that I need a lot of times, because I spend so much time trying to look at every road and every angle and try to play out how every situation is going to go. So if I'm like, okay, I have 100 options and 100 scenarios, so now I get to pick one and take action. I think professionally I tend to be such of that person, and sometimes I'm like, I've gotten better at narrowing it down to 3 so I can move a little bit quicker, but it's probably the thing that holds me back the most when it comes to really like going all in on the podcast or really doing some like creative pursuits, whether it's writing or videos or whatever, because it's hard for me to just have that blind trust and like, hey, if you just continue like putting your slip in, at some point the thing is going to do whatever it's supposed to do.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, has that ever been a challenge for you where it's you have to keep showing up for the thing without knowing what it's going to give back.
Yeah, again, like, I'm just built this way, but I see people that have, like, Drew's a great example. Drew McManus is a great example of like that, like Tony Robbins thing, like straight laser focus, and then goes and does the thing and then sees success. Where, some, like for me, I did too many things, but that was just the way that I am, where I'm like, I love playing bass. I love playing upright bass. I love playing upright bass with a bow. I love playing guitar. I love playing lead guitar. I love recording. I love playing live, and so I ended up having a lot of balls in the air, and it just takes so much longer to build those up, but starting to see those come up. So I don't know if there's a better or a better way to do it. But I think, like, if you love writing and you love podcasting and you love telling people's story through media, like, know that that's like what makes you, but it might not all, like, it might not all be as soon as like you want, because you're doing 3 different things. But if you did just pick one, you might, go further faster.
Right.
Just like carrying, extra loads or whatever. But if that's what, if that's what makes you, you're not going to be happy unless you have all 3 going at the same time too. Yeah. So it's like, it's hard to know which bag to cut off your horse. Yeah. That's going to help the trip go faster. And my only way to know that is to get to the end of it.
For sure. Yeah. How do you deal with that timeline thing?
It used to be frustrating, but since I'm finally starting to see some of the benefits of that, I'm like hopeful that they'll just continue upwards. Mm-hmm. Again, it doesn't have like the optics, but in my soul, it has the optics. And so that feels good. Like, I know my success by how it feels when I doing my thing, versus being able to like be like, oh, go to my Instagram page and you can see how cool I am. Right, you have to like, I have to like be there and you experience it. And if you get it, you get it. And if not, it's like, it's not the Zach Bryan thing or, Shane Gillis or whatever. It's like, I don't know what it is. It's just different.
For sure. Does the comparison game of like Zach Bryan sings and plays guitar. Yeah. Right. Like, there's a lot of people that sing and play guitar. There's every level of like the person who just started to that. How do you manage your own expectations and your own like goal setting and comparison and stuff when it comes to like the trajectory that you're on?
I think you're always like taking swings and hoping that you'll get a home run, but it's like managing perspective of like, okay, I just put out an album. It's the best thing I feel like I've done, and that's where the success is. And if it connects with anybody, that's also a success. Like, if there's one person, so my levels of success are just like, is there one person? If there's one person listening to me on Spotify, that's one more person than some people have. Right. Yeah. And so if there's 40, it's like, holy smokes, I have 40 people listening to me. Mm-hmm. Like, that's crazy. Yeah. Like, I don't even know who they are. Like, and then scale, or, to scale. Right. So it's like kind of, I think that's answering that question.
Yeah. It seems like that comes from a place of gratitude, because it doesn't seem like there's a way to get to that place without gratitude kind of being the thing.
Yeah. And gratitude, gratitude has to be it, because it's not like the numbers or the fame. It's the, holy smokes, I'm doing this thing. And there's a response. Like, it's not just in a void. And maybe someday it will, do whatever it's supposed to do and blossom into whatever it's supposed to blossom into.
Right.
But it's kind of one of those things, like if I can affect one student's life, like, I mean, that's like success. If I have one person listen to my song and like it helps them, like I've had people affected by my songs and they tell me that, and I'm like, well, that's like, that's enough.
Right.
Like, I don't need any more, but the fact that there might be more is like incredible. So
for sure.
I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things with this podcast too, being as small as it is right now, that like I remind myself often that when somebody comes to me and they're like, hey, I connected with this thing that you said, or like some kind of emotion is attached to, they listen to the thing and then they're reporting back. Mm-hmm. My friend Hunter hit me up the other day after the solo podcast and was like, she like FaceTimed me and she was like, oh, I like, there's this, and this. And I was writing in my journal as I was watching it. And you said this thing about how your journal wasn't special. And like, cause everybody has one, but that makes them all special, but nobody's like, and she's just like kind of riffing on this thing.
Yeah.
And it gave me so much gratitude, because I was like, the time that I spent like sitting, staring into a camera, yapping my face off, and like having the team edit and working together on all that stuff. Like, if the only thing that happened was that Hunter and I got closer because there was that conversation, or like that perspective that she got in her life, and we got to have that conversation, like it would be such a treat for me to sit down and have that talk just in real life, not on the podcast. Mm-hmm. And so the fact that it's, like you said, one listener versus 100,000, that one listener is enough, because it would have been a treat to do that in real life anyways.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. And the fact, you know, for you, and even for me, that there's one person that, and especially that there's somebody that knows you, that is willing to take their time out of their day when they could listen to Huberman, Rogan,
everybody,
you know, name all of it. They could be doing it, not to mention Netflix, YouTube, like all the other things that we can just do.
Yeah.
That there are people in your orbit and outside of your orbit that are taking their time to listen to you do what it is that you're doing. Mm-hmm. Like when you really sit back and like marinate on that, it's like, holy smokes, like that's really special. Like it's
crazy.
almost like emotional, because you're, I don't know, you're doing the thing and people are responding to it and giving you their time and then engaging with you on it. That's like, so you know that your thing has like something to work with.
Yeah.
And so that's like great feedback as well. But
man,
it is hard to like have that be the fuel all the time, but it's great.
A lot of times it is though.
Yeah.
You know, like how does feedback resonate with you when you get it about people listening, less about teaching, but people like listening to your original songs that you've written and stuff like that? How does that land for you?
Sometimes it's hard to take. I would almost like rather not have it, but I need it. It's weird, but like, yeah.
Why do you say that?
Just because you go, oh, you know, like,
it's nothing.
But you know, I think inside you're like, wow, this is incredible. So it's like kind of dealing with that, like letting yourself be like, oh, I was with you on your whole, what's that hike in Spain? The trail.
Oh, I know the one you're talking about. It goes like over, it's like 50 miles or something.
Yeah, the Alchemist.
Insane.
It's the Alchemist Trail too, I think, in the Santiago or whatever. And, you know, I had a friend say, your album I listened to your album every day, and these songs were with me and they helped me get through, and I was going through a tough time. And
holy shit.
Like, it changed my life. And I'm like, oh. And like, first you're like, it couldn't have been it couldn't have been me. Yeah. But like, stories like that, like letting them in and then going, okay, like, so it like people are getting what it is that I'm doing.
Yeah.
And then being like, this is worthwhile. So I'll just keep doing what I'm doing. And if I can find that one person, then that's enough to keep going, you know? And even if there wasn't that one person, I would still keep going. I would probably just be like, obviously not worried about anybody listening to it. It'd just be the void. But to know that it's connecting with people is like, it gives me like wings to keep going.
Yeah, I agree. I think those little interactions, it's very hard for me to take compliments as well. But like you said, it's kind of like the fuel it's like you need it, but at the same time, it's hard to like embrace it and be like, oh yeah, this is the thing. It's interesting for me. One of my favorite ideas is this idea of instead of spending your time chasing butterflies, instead spend your time building a beautiful garden, and you'll have more butterflies than you know what to do with. It's one of my favorite.
That's great.
Got a tattoo about it, like the whole thing. And it's one of my favorites. And like I noticed when you were talking earlier about how that like trusting in the universe and having it like it shows up for you. It gives you like these things back. I start to notice whether it's those little conversations that I have with somebody who listens to the show, or, you know, something like somebody saying, hey, you were with me every day of this crazy hike that I did. I noticed that like things start to happen in my favor when it feels like I'm doing the right thing. And it's not always money.
Yeah.
You know, it's like friends hit me up who I haven't talked to in a while, or opportunities to travel, or to like, I can never put a beat on it because it seems like it randomly shows up.
Yeah.
But the only thing that isn't random about it is as soon as I start doing the thing that I'm supposed to do, when I start writing more, when I start being intentional about the podcast, when I pour into the people and the world, these random things start to pop back up, and it's like these signs of like, hey, you're on the right track.
Yeah.
And it's so weird to me because like I can never expect, okay, when I start doing this other thing's going to happen. It's always this felt random thing, but the thing that isn't random is just like showing up and doing what you're supposed to do.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think the more you start to sound like a kind of a weirdo shaman kind of guy.
Yeah.
But I'm like, you know, leaning into that more where you're like, I just always say like, you're upon the path. Like you're on the path. Like when that happens, like when I'm thinking, like it just happened. I was thinking of Drew McManus this morning. I was like, I should reach out and catch up with him, see how he's doing. While we were doing the podcast, he was like, dude, how was your time? And like, we haven't talked for like, handful of days. And so to be like when that alignment stuff, even if it's like, that's just a coincidence. To me, you're on some path. Like you're in the right direction, and what's happening is the right thing. And those things just start happening more and more. And when you acknowledge them, you go, oh, that's a wink from the gods.
Right.
That are, all of whatever saying like, we're behind you and you're doing the right thing.
Right.
So
you mentioned that book, The Alchemist, earlier. And that was one of my favorite takeaways from that book was when you want something bad enough and you start to like give yourself to that, the universe conspires to make that thing happen.
I love that. Mm-hmm. I've always, and I've since I read that book, that's one of the things that I always say. Yeah. As well. Or like remind myself.
Yeah.
Like the universe is not conspiring against you, but with you.
Yeah. Life happens for you, not against you, not to you.
Yeah. And you can see that. And I'm not like, I haven't had to do a lot of really hard things, like painful, like, my family's healthy and not a lot of tragedy in my life. But when there are those levels of tragedy, seeing it, like trying to not let it bring you down, but see why it happened to you, and like not be crippled by it, but use it as like, again, like the universe this isn't happening to you as a punishment. It's happening to you to help you, say, go this way, or go that way, or like this thing needs to, so it is that perspective. And it's interesting when you start following that perspective.
For sure.
And instead of it being like, woe is me or whatever, it's like, how can I use this to live to my most potential that I have?
For sure. And I think that exists in so many different philosophies and teaching, is like God is good all the time. I think is the same ethos as life happens for you, not to you, which is the same as when you want something bad enough, the universe is going to conspire to make it happen. Like, I think that there's so many different teachings and philosophies that kind of come back to the same thing. And I think it is that like being on the path thing. It's like continuing to just like do the thing that you're called to do, be the person that isn't staying true to the thing that you're here to do, instead of being caught by the shiny objects and like being misdirected into, well, if you just sell your soul a little bit and then you give me a little bit more, then a little bit more, I'm going to give you this thing back. But now you painted yourself in a corner, and what are you going to do with that thing? You know? It's interesting, man. I think that having that tuning fork is one of the most important things, though, and like being able to stay on that path is, I think that without noticing when you get those winks from the universe, like you said, when you miss them, I think that it's discouraging and it becomes harder to like stay doing your thing. But like having the small moments of like not attributing Drew texting you today to being a coincidence. Yeah. And like looking out for all of these little things of somebody texting you or somebody giving you a compliment, like whatever the little thing is, I think that the more that you can, at least for me, the more that I've been able to like look at those and not attribute them to coincidence, it seems like it's been like fuel to the fire that I don't have to like have these mountaintop moments to receive. Yeah. I can let all of these little things be the thing instead of being like, oh, I'm going to be motivated once I hit 1,000 followers. Right. And then I'm going to feel like I made it once I hit this or that. Like all of if instead I can count the little moments, there's a whole gang of those. Yeah. You know, and it's a lot more fuel to the fire that's maybe like less hard to get. It's just paying attention. Yeah. And you have something really, lasting too, if that's how you're building your ethos of life. Like if you're walking around with your little, I don't know, I have this like Zelda type character where you have this little satchel and you're just like collecting all these moments. Yeah. At the end of the day, you've got this stockpile of confirmations that, what you're doing is right, or what you're supposed to be doing, what you're doing is beautiful, what you're doing matters. And you're just, each day you're building brick by brick this storehouse of this that you're carrying on for the rest of your life too, so that you have something to look back towards and say like, wow, that every day was meaningful. Everything, I was a part and engaged in life and nature and humanity and all the things, like, because you can look back and say like, wow, and that's part of it. Like you're being present when those happen, you're being forced to look and say like, oh yeah, thank you. I am supposed to be here, and I'm glad I'm here, and I'm glad that everything led me to this point right here, and I get to acknowledge that and then walk with that, little lighter step, like peppery step, or whatever, instead of, the alternative, which we've done. I'm sure you have too, where you're like, oh, life is just crushing me, and it's all whatever. I don't know. What was me stuff? Yeah. Yeah. No, it's, I feel like I've been, really impacted by something that Chris Williamson said on his podcast a couple of weeks ago. He did a solo episode, and, he was talking about like the threshold of joy and happiness, and how there was a lens that he was looking through the world at in some ways where like the little things felt embarrassing to be joyous about. Oh yeah. So like, like how embarrassing, how futile is it to be overly stoked, to be at an 8 out of 10 about the fact that this latte art was insanely cool, or that this sunset was nuts tonight, or like all these things, like how, if that's the bar, how embarrassing, how whatever, that like, that's the thing that got you to an 8. And that he was almost like reserving his 8 moments for hitting 1,000 episodes on his podcast, or hitting financial goals, or getting married, or whatever the thing was. And that like there was some kind of weird virtue in having a really high bar for happiness and for joy. And he was like, well, that doesn't really, seems like a miserable way to live. And so he was like talking about this readjustment that he had made. And I found myself to relate to that so much, because I would like downplay so much about my like any successes or happy moments or any of these things. It's like, instead of being like having a hang when randomly all the boys are over smoking cigars because they were out golfing all day, and like it just happened where we're all sitting on the patio right now, instead of just being like, oh yeah, it was good time, I guess. Like it was
Right.
chill. Let that be an 8, dude. That's
Right.
how freaking cool is that when in 2 years, one of those guys lives here now.
Right.
Looking back on that, that's an 8 looking back, but like let it be an 8 right now. Let it be a 9 right now.
Yeah.
And so that's been like, it's been a really helpful lens for me to live through over the last couple of weeks. And like yesterday I was driving my old car down the streets and like the leaves are changing.
Yeah.
The windows are down. And I'm like, literally had a moment where I'm just like, in 2 months from now, when all these trees are sticks, it's cold. I can't have my windows down. I can't drive this car because it's like 2-wheel drive.
Yep.
I can't like, I'm going to be stoked. So like, let myself be stoked about it. Right. Like full, and I'm like cheesing like an idiot, just like, like full smiling. And I think that that's been one of the things that like you said with the satchel, like I'm trying to collect more and more and more of those because there's so much, like there's so much more of them.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, even just the fact like I'm alive because some people are dying today,
for sure,
you know, or whatever. It's like, which I love about, you know, the wearing a go fast, don't die shirt or whatever. And somebody's like, oh, cool shirt. I'm like, yeah, it's great. And they're like, what does it mean? And then I get to tell them what it means to me, you know? And it's like, yeah, just trying to live, you know, as much as possible before. And maybe that lady who took my return at Home Depot is like, bought a Go Fast Don't Die shirt and changed her life or whatever. Not that I'm out here trying to change people's lives or anything. That's not the point, but, yeah, just thinking of like how precious life is and like those things, like it's almost like we're trained to think that we don't have, like, it's not good unless we're like on TV or successful or, you know, have the nicest stuff. And so we do have those metrics like going into our, like we're programmed to have those metrics. It's kind of weird, but deprogramming and being like, no, like the fact that I can taste salt on my tongue right now in this salted caramel latte is fucking mind blowing. Like, and I'm going to have a great day. I don't know, you know, and like you look like a total weirdo, but it is like, it's that weird dude by the river who's like, oh, this rock is beautiful. And like, you know, just like, he's just doing that all day long. But he looks like a weirdo, but other people are out there not enjoying anything, thinking that that's the way.
Right.
You know? So, I think that's beautiful that you've had that realization too.
Yeah. Fill the satchel up.
Let's fill those satchels up, dude.
I love it. Well, before we get out of here, we've had a chance to like cover a lot of different ground from places in your story, places in creativity, and like all of these different things. It sounds like, especially coming off of one of like the coolest creative like spaces that you've been in, it seems like there's a lot of exciting things for this next like phase of your story. If you had to put a label or a title for the chapter of life that you're in right now, or maybe the chapter that you're like turning into, what would you title it?
Ooh. I'd have to send that to my editor, the publishing house, because my titles right now are kind of lame. But they're like I'm. So it's weird because we're talking about career and like my goals, but I'm trying to tie. Actually, that is the theme. Like, try to tie it all into like becoming the best man and father and husband that I can be, as well as the best creative and like musical community, Billings community, greater community member that I can be. So it feels like growth, but like I'm trying to center it around, like I spend so much time on myself, like my career, my music, my practice, my songs, my, that I'm trying to like, what does it look like to like be more like the scales flip and it's like wife, kids, family, you know, parents, future, and then legacy, grandkids, you know, like trying to be that mindset where, and I can't take like too much gas off, but like, how do I incorporate like all that stuff together to be like the best version of that and to pour into my, like have this phase be more about family and legacy and future. while I have this short window with the boys and stuff like that. So the next chapter feels like growth, but also
sounds like giving to me.
Yeah. I think it would. That's my hope, is that I can lean into that more and be like more less selfish and give to them that way, which I'm excited about. But that's what it really feels like the universe is pushing me into, if I'm willing to accept, which I think is what I want, because the worst thing in the world is to, like you talk about in our hip too, is like look back and be like, shoot, those were the days I was supposed to be doing that, but I was doing that. And I wish, I wish I could flip that around.
Yeah.
I want to be looking at it reverse and going, what would I want to look back and see, rather than like, that
like porting yourself to 60-year-old you, saying, what would me now?
Yeah.
Like, what would I want to be reflecting positively on right now?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then like really like trying to reverse engineer that. 'Cause me right now wants to like start touring my own music and be way more. But how does, if this is the thing, the family unit, how does that fit into there? And if it doesn't, then it doesn't exist, maybe. And then also like, is it working towards that, maybe that future goal of the music compound family epicenter, or whatever. So, growth and giving, chapter 1.
Hell yeah. I love it, man.
I did bring.
Oh, lovely.
I brought 2 quotes.
I love them. Let's get into it.
I drew Korftia.
Let's go.
And they're like older quotes, but I was going to ask you if you've ever had this happen. This quote came to me on my own, and then I started hearing it out. So like, have you ever had an experience where there's like universal things like speaking to people, like where you've gotten something totally organically and then heard someone else with it? Has that ever happened to you?
Where it was where it was kind of your thing?
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh, other people are like,
dang.
I just started hearing this other places. Yes.
Yeah. It's kind of a weird phenomenon.
Yeah.
And I don't know how any of that works, but this came to me during COVID, where I was seeing like people acting like we all saw it like crazy, like online or in person or whatever. And I was like, oh, this is interesting. Like how you do anything is how you do everything. And that's like been a motto for me. So like if whatever I try to do, it tries to fit in to that rubric of like, is this characteristic of who I am? And make sure that everything fits in that box. And then I heard a couple people say that. I think it was Richard Rohr, who's like a great Christian Catholic theologian or whatever.
Okay. I
was like, oh, okay, that's confirmation that that's a badass thing.
Yeah.
And maybe more true universally than not. And then the other quote is from James Baldwin, which is, not everything that is faced can be changed, but nothing can be changed until it is faced. Which is pretty cool. And
I like that one.
That seems to like fit with your whole.
Yeah. Not everything that's faced can be changed,
but nothing can be changed until it is faced.
Man, I really like that one.
Yeah, it's a good one.
So one of the things that hit me really heavily is I was having this conversation with my friend. I talked a little bit about it on the solo podcast a couple episodes ago, but we were talking about this struggle that she was having with like a relationship kind of thing, where she had wanted to get all of these things onto the table and like express herself about these things in her relationship. And she had finally done it, and she was talking about like the relief that came from it and all these things. She was like, yeah, we can like just operate from a place of just like neutrality and this and that. And it was one of those moments where like a conversation is the thing that forges an idea, instead of us bringing like, you have your ideas, I have my ideas, and we're going to lay out our items on the basket together. And like, I have mine, you have yours, and we're going to trade. It's like this conversation like forged this idea. And I said it without planning it, but I said that honesty was a recalibration back to reality. And I think that what that quote reminds me of it, because like without facing something, you can't change it. But so many times I think that honesty is the gap that exists for like us being willing to face things in the first place.
Yeah.
And I think that there's ways that we lie or half truth to ourselves and to other people, and like all of these justifications that kind of start to make up our reality. And what I find to be true is like, as a recovering people pleaser,
dude,
I spend so much time like trying to nerf things or make them easier, or trying to like protect people from me or from themselves or from whatever. And I feel like I'm in this constant like management game to try to keep everybody happy. And it's bit me in the ass so many times, where either for myself or for somebody else, like just being willing to be honest about the thing and face the thing, it allows everybody the opportunity to like operate from a place of reality. And so it's like, I'm giving you the respect of giving it to you like entirely raw, like real, whatever the thing is. And now you have the respect of like making a decision based on that.
Yeah.
And that's true for you. And then if we both decide we're on the same path together, now it's 2 times as strong as if we were both kind of bullshitting our way through this thing.
Right.
You know? So I really like that quote that like, you can't change everything, but it starts with that honesty of just like facing it.
Yeah. Yeah. And learning how to be honest. Cause I'll even find that like where I'd like, oh, that's not it. That's not it. And then I finally say the thing like, and until you start learning how to be honest and know what that feels like to get it all out.
Yeah.
You don't create the space for the real root of the problem or the thing that you're trying to get towards, or, you know, the goal. That's good. Yeah.
I think that honesty, to loop it back into a lot of what we've been talking about today too, I think that it really exists in a place. I think that without being honest with ourselves, we can't tap into a lot of things we've talked about today when it comes to like giving the real version of yourself to the universe, to the world, to God, and letting that force give back to you.
Yeah.
Because when, like you said earlier, when you let yourself go to a position, whether it's through shiny object syndrome or keeping up with the Joneses or whatever, where you sell your soul and do things that aren't you, that lack of honesty, like the world can only give you back the thing that's like the 40% you.
Yeah.
You can't get the stuff back because you're not putting like the real version of you. So it's like, okay, well, this is 30% you that you're giving me right now. And so I can give you the 30% that correlates to that, but I can't give you all of the things that you're supposed to have if you were giving 100% you.
That's so good. That's so good. Yeah. Yeah. That's good. Bottle that one up. Dude, yeah. Holy smokes. I just want to like sit in that.
Should we mic drop that right there?
I think so.
Okay.
Whew.
Well, Parker Brown,
dude,
this was fun, man. Thanks for the quotes.
Yeah, I'm glad I did that, because then we got that.
True. That's one of those things. The conversations, we're not just comparing basket stuff. We're building.
Yeah, exactly.
I love it. Awesome, man. Dude, this was super fun.
Thanks for having me. I'm on.
Yeah, thank you for having me on your pod. It was, dude, there was like 3 things that came out of you and I just chatting on that podcast that have been like entirely like given me a new lens to look at through the world.
Really?
So like, yeah, the whole idea that we talked about with like pattern breaks being the thing that we remember.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
That was a conversation forge. that was not something that I'd ever thought about before.
Dude, that's awesome.
Yeah. There's so many things I feel like just like sitting and chatting with you is like this weird forge for good shit to come out of.
That's awesome. That means a lot.
Super stoked.
Likewise.
For everybody who wants to find the podcast, the Patreon, your music, we got a long list, but let's get into it. I want people to have more Parker Brown in their lives.
Thanks, man. You can go to Patreon and that's kind of where I'm like sharing all my creative like songs and trying to build that Patreon page up. That's patreon.com/Parker_Brown. Or I'm active on Instagram moderately, and then Facebook moderately. And I have a website, pbrownsound.com. You can kind of find all the links there. But yeah, give the music a listen and a couple times, and maybe it'll resonate with you.
Heck yeah, man. Go hiking about it. turn it on.
Yeah. You never know. Yeah. It might not be
it.
your thing, but it might be your thing.
This is true. All right, man. This is super fun.
Thanks,
Thank you
dude.
so much.
Appreciate you.
All righty. Thanks for listening, everybody. We love you.